The 2026 Volkswagen Tiguan is a very impressive crossover from top to bottom. Whether it's the S trim I'm standing next to today or the SEL R-Line Turbo, giving you 268 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque, and massaging leather trimmed seats. But if you're in the market for a well-equipped crossover coming in below $35,000, well, you're in luck with the 2026 Volkswagen Tiguan S. And in today's video, we're going to go over everything you want to know about the S trim and why it might be the pick in the lineup for the 2026 model. So if you're ready, then I'm ready. Let's dive right into the 2026 Volkswagen Tiguan S. So to kickstart this video, let's begin with that pricing. With the Volkswagen Tiguan S, you're going to have two options here. You can go with front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. All-wheel drive will tack on about $1,500 to the price tag, and since I'm up here in the Boston area, all-wheel drive will be equipped for our vehicle today. You're looking at a starting cost of just over $33,500, and we do have one optional package, or should I say feature, that you probably have seen immediately today taking a look at the exterior, and that's going to be the optional 18-inch alloy wheels. Gotta be honest here, I'm not a huge fan of this wheel design at all. I would stick with the 17s that do come standard. Now this is only a couple $100 extra, but if you want a softer ride, stick with the 17s. As you take a look at the exterior here, you're going to notice that up front you are going to have full LED headlights and LED daytime running lights. Really nice stuff to see here. Unfortunately though, by going with the S or any trim below the SEL R-Line Turbo, you are not going to have an illuminated emblem or front light bar. So keep all of that in mind. Although you are going to have functional or active side air curtains to help out with that overall fuel efficiency and aerodynamics to this crossover. Now, another thing too that I'm really impressed by with the Volkswagen Tiguan S, and this sets the tone for the rest of this vehicle, is the fact you are going to have body color matched side mirror caps with turn signal indicators. A lot of base crossovers under $35,000 are not going to give you that. But you're also going to have blind spot detection for added safety. That is right. So a lot to work with here just at the beginning of this video. Also, by going with the S, you will have roof rails as well. So that way, if you are going to be tying anything down, you're going on a road trip with a family member or a significant other, you can do so very easily with this vehicle. So it's very well equipped. Now, as you make your way around to the back here, just like we saw up front, you are going to have LED taillights. That is right. So a full light bar that runs the length of the rear fascia, giving you a futuristic and modern appearance. Now, for the lower portion of the rear bumper, you are going to have some cladding here and some contrasting accents. Another thing too that I really like is that you don't have visible exhaust outlets, giving you a much cleaner appearance to this vehicle overall. However, a vehicle that appears to have everything is missing one key feature here, and that's going to be the lack of a power liftgate. Now, apologies for the clutter here. This S just arrived a couple of days ago. Behind the second row seat, you're looking at right on 33 cubic feet of room, which will fall right in line with a Subaru Forester, Subaru Outback, and Mazda CX-5 and CX-50. Better yet, you are going to have some side cubbies here for some smaller items, maybe a couple water bottles, car detail equipment, or maybe even a first aid kit. Also, one thing I really like here about the Tiguan for the 2026 model is that you will have handles here, and you can conveniently lower the second row seats to maximize that cargo area very conveniently and quickly. Best of all here though, you will have a spare tire. So if you encounter flat on those road trips or travels, you can fix that and be back on the road. Powering all Volkswagen Tiguans for 2026 is going to be a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Now for the bottom three trims, the numbers are going to be a bit different here. You're looking at right on 201 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque if you go with all-wheel drive. 207 pound-feet of torque if you go with front-wheel drive. So a big difference there if you do live in colder regions of the U.S. So not only do you get 7.5 inches of ground clearance, you also get a vehicle that's going to be a bit more peppy off the line here. Now this is a slight boost in performance over the outgoing generation, and this is very much in line with other turbocharged crossovers in this class at around $35,000. Now, like I said before, you can't go with front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, so that option is there and available to you. But now it comes down to to fuel economy, because I know a lot of you are focused on that here. We're looking at right around 22 miles per gallon in the city and 30 miles per gallon on the highway, which really isn't that bad for a vehicle with this type of engine. What's also worth mentioning here with this Tiguan, not only outwardly does it look different than the outgoing generation, it's also built on a different platform, a revised MQB Evo platform that gives you a bit more rigidity and stiffness to the suspension and chassis. Now, why is this important? Well, they save some weight first and foremost, but it's also not as top heavy, and you'll have a bit more of a lower center of gravity, providing a more enjoyable driving experience that I think a lot of you are most certainly looking for if you're buying a European crossover. But as impressive as the exterior is, it's the interior that really sets this model apart from its rivals, and it all begins with these seats. Now, I know what you're thinking here. Cloth upholstery, and they're not power adjustable, but they are heated. And a lot of vehicles in this class, below $35,000, will not give you heated seat functionality. Now, if you want a power driver's seat, you have to go with the SE, and the SE does come with a long list of amenities and incentives to upgrade to that trim. But if you want to save some money here, the S is really going to be the value option in the lineup. Now, these seats are a bit firm and they're not that plush, but a lot of vehicles in this class are going to exhibit the exact same qualities here. They are very grippy though, so when you are on a winding back road, you should have no issues when you are cornering. Now, in front of you, though, this is where everything begins to change. And this is where the Tiguan really diverges from a lot of crossovers it's competing against at around $35,000. So first off, with this steering wheel, it's not heated, but it is a leatherette wrap steering wheel. It feels really nice in the hands. Firm 10 and 2 grips and firm 9 and 3 grips. So when you are on a winding back road, you should have some fun here with this vehicle. But best of all, though, Volkswagen did listen to their customers from last generation. So you are going to have physical buttons now on the steering wheel, replacing the haptic feedback buttons from the Mark II. The left side will be buttons for your adaptive cruise control settings and your travel assist, and you can customize this to your liking when you are on the highway. Beneath that will be your buttons for the volumes. That way you don't have to reach to the infotainment system when you are listening to your favorite music. Then on the right side of the steering wheel, you're going to notice a hands-free calling button, which is great if you're pairing this up with your smartphone. However, though, you do have an onboard assistant, which is a bit interesting here because usually onboard assistants are for top trims in this market. And yet, when you press down on that button, you're going to have Ida, and she'll help you out with your climate control settings, your heated seats, and other important information when it pertains to the infotainment system or driving experience, which I think is actually really cool. And we see this from a lot of German manufacturers, but to have this here under $35,000 really does go a long way. Now, obviously, with this full digital gauge cluster in front of you, the rest of the button layout is going to help you customize this screen. So you're going to notice this view button here, and that will change up the layout. So you will have more of a minimal look here, giving you your fuel economy statistics, also, of course, your average speed. And you can also customize the dials themselves individually. And from here, you can have no display. You can access your settings, your fuel economy, your total distance, operating temps, and your start-stop system. On the right side, it'll be different displays, such as your travel time and distance, average speed, navigation, audio, telephone, compass, and destination info. Now, you're not going to have onboard navigation, though, so you're not going to have the map that shows up in the digital gauge cluster or on the infotainment systems. Just keep all of that in mind. If you want that, go higher up in the trim levels for 2026. And then as you make your way over to the infotainment system, this is where it gets really good. So you're going to have this 13-inch touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility to go along with a wireless phone charging pad. That is right. So that will be found on the center console here, and you'll also have 2 USB-C inputs if you don't want to use wireless phone connectivity. But with this screen, though, you're going to notice some icons at the bottom of the head unit. So this will be for your heated seats, but also dual zone climate control. So a lot of vehicles in this market, below $35,000, will not give you dual zone climate control. So now we're just adding on all these features that really sets a tone for the Tiguan and why it really is a true German crossover, and I think somewhat luxurious here, even though this is a base model. At the top of the screen will be quick access icons for your vehicle settings. So from here, you can adjust certain things and also create new widgets. So you have vehicle favorites for your start-stop, your lane assist, your trip computer, but then also you can add keyless access, your hill descent control, your wipers in service position, your start-stop, and your traction control on and off system. This is really cool stuff. Also, you can add driving modes to your favorites as well, along with assist systems. Now, you will have other widgets to work with, such as your telephone, radio, vehicle, app connect, parking, assist systems, settings, driving mode, off-road, and sound. It is all right here. Also, you will have the climate menu as well. That will give you more of an in-depth look here when you are turning on your heat or your AC. Now, there are a few things I do want to point out here with this head unit, such as your driving modes. You will have Eco, Comfort, Sport, Custom, Off-Road, and Snow. Higher trims do offer atmospheres, giving you ambient lighting for the interior, really making the Tiguan feel a bit more upscale for the 2026 model year. Two more widgets that are important will be your vehicle icon. So from here, you can access some settings for the exterior lights, tires, headlights, then for the interior, also your cockpit and your ambient. So with the ambient, you would adjust the lighting, such as for the infotainment system. You can adjust the lighting there, make it light or dark. I think dark is the way to go here with the screen, so that way it's not blinding you when you are driving at night. And then the last thing I want to point out here is going to be your assist systems. You're going to notice on this screen the ability to turn on or off some certain safety systems, such as your lane keep assist, your automatic emergency braking, your travel assist, which is semi-autonomous driving, and then your lane change assist. But what I really like here is that this vehicle is going to be very safe too, so it gives you the safety systems that you would expect here at around $35,000. Now, one last thing before we continue on with the rest of the interior is going to be your rear backup camera. So you will have a rear backup camera with trajectory and a 180-degree view as well. But interestingly enough, you also have front and rear parking sensors too. So that way, when you are backing out tight spots on a city street or in a garage, you're not going to hit that vehicle behind you. So that's really great stuff to see here. Now, continuing on, you are going to have two center mounted air vents to go along with your hazard button. Then for the center console itself, two cup holders here to go along with the cubby for some smaller items, maybe a pen or some loose change. And then here we have an actual physical dial and two buttons. Now, this dial is actually going to be multifunctional. So it adjusts your volume, so you don't have to reach for the screen. But then when you press down on it, here you have your drive mode selector for Eco, Comfort, Sport, Custom, Off-Road, and Snow. And then next to that will be your electronic parking brake. Now, you're not going to have a center storage compartment per se, but it is deep enough for some smaller items, maybe a couple smartphones, wallets, or other smaller tech gadgets. Like I said before, here's your wireless phone charging pad and two USB-C inputs. Then you have a center armrest, which does slide forwards, which is nice, so that way you can just relax on those longer drives. And when you lift that up, you will have another compartment here for probably your key fob. That's probably the best place to store it up front. Then for passengers in the second row, they're going to receive close to 40 inches of legroom. That is on par with the Honda CR-V, Toyota RAV4, Kia Sportage, and Hyundai Tucson. So even though this generation is a bit smaller than the outgoing model, you're still going to have some sense of practicality for the second row. So you can easily have tall passengers sit back here. And I do think you can try squeezing in a third person in the center, which is very, very nice. Also, we have a higher roof line here, so tall passengers will not be hitting their head on the headliner. Now, with the S, of course, you're not going to have all the amenities that would be found on a top trim, but you are going to receive two center-mounted air vents to go along with two USB-C inputs. And if that wasn't enough, you do get a center armrest with two cup holders. So guys, thank you so much for joining me today with the 2026 Volkswagen Tiguan S. If you have any questions and also want to know more about the Volkswagen Tiguan, let me know in the comment section below. But guys, once again, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys next time.